Welcome to Public Sociology Live. This is our 8th conversation in this series where we discuss the works of sociologists in different locations throughout the world and explore the implications for public sociology. Our guests so far have raised a whole range of issues and have highlighted the challenges of working with different kinds of publics. For example, we had Dr. Nandini Sundar speak with us about working with communities in Chhattisgarh, India. We also had Dr. Cesar Rodriguez Garavito talk about working with indigenous communities in Colombia and Latin America. And both of them were particularly interested in the ways in which these communities and these spaces are governed. And in a similar vein, today we have with us Dr. Sari Hanafi, who will also be talking about the ways in which, in this case, Palestinian refugee camps are governed, particularly, as he says, as spaces of exception. So we are actually doing something a little bit different today, and that Michael Buravoy, who is usually here with us in Berkeley, California, is actually in Beirut with Dr. Sari Hanafi. And I will let Michael do the introductions for us.
Okay, very good. Well, it's strange to be doing this from this end, but I'm delighted to be here in Beirut. Thanks for that introduction, Lali. And I'm happy to introduce my friend here, Sari Hanafi.
Thank you.
Sari has had an amazing career, fits perfectly for this course. He is going to be talking about the governing of Palestinian refugees, but he was a Palestinian and perhaps even regards himself as a Palestinian refugee. He was brought up in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria. He calls it a 5-star refugee camp, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And anyway, so he amazingly took advantage of what opportunities there were in Syria, got a degree actually in civil engineering. They tell me it was for your mother you got this degree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, so he was always a covert sociologist. And so he left Syria, he took his degrees in France, 2 degrees, the PhD he did in the EHESS in Paris. And from then he actually moved on. He was in Ramallah with a Center for Studying Refugees. And then he was also, there was 5 years there. He was 5 years in Cairo in another research center. And he's now been 7 years at the American University of Beirut. So he's been in many interesting places in the world indeed. And he's written many interesting books. His most recent book actually is called The Power of Inclusive Exclusion, which is an anatomy of the Israeli occupation. And he wrote this with several other authors. I think, so he has written quite a bit about the migration and increasingly about the situation of refugees, of which we have read a number of his articles. I would like to say one thing else about his writings, and I could spend a lot of time doing it, but one thing is important. He's been very interested in the predicament of sociologists and social sciences in countries outside the global north. And he became actually quite famous recently by coining a very special phrase. It's called, you either perish locally and publish globally. So if you publish for the international community, you often have to do it in English or in French, and you lose connections to the local community. So that's one side of the dilemma. The other is if you go local, then you will perish globally. That if you actually make your audience the local one, then actually you will not be able to move in the sort of global cosmopolitan community of scientists. This is a real tension, and it's a problem particularly in the global south. And I think we're going to hear a lot about that sort of tension when we talk to him, talk to him today about refugees in Palestine. In addition to all that, and he's done an amazing amount, he's actually the editor of the Arab Journal of Sociology. He has been a consultant for the World Bank and various UN agencies, and he writes regularly for local newspapers in English and in Arabic. So you might say that he actually covers all four types of sociology: professional, policy, public, and critical. Most of us do two in a lifetime. Sari is doing four all at once. He is the sociological windmill par excellence. So on that note, let me welcome Sari Hanafi.
Thank you, Michael. I'm really touched, and thank you, Lali, and welcome all in this dialogue and discussion. I'm so glad every time I hear about you, about all the wonderful discussion you had with previous guest you have. I watch it in YouTube and really I enjoy it. Let me start by saying that my relationship to public is really not just in terms of disseminating academic works after doing referee journal articles. Just you do a version which is accessible to public. I would say public inspire me so much. I like to be exposed to the community I studied, even sometimes because of the type of funding, type of project you work in, a questionnaire, in a quantitative research method. I always consider that I should not only triangulate with other methods, but be doing ethnography somehow to refine the problematic, my research question, the way I approach the study, and so on. So, for instance, my work on the Arab-Israeli conflict, I really when I get my position as a director of a research center in Palestinian in Ramallah, in Palestinian city, I traveled a lot. I walked a lot around West Bank and Gaza. And the first things I noticed that how claustrophobic I become there, and the fact that you travel by car maybe 10 minutes and you have an Israeli checkpoint. And so if you like, the more you connect with your the object you study, the more give you a sort of existential feeling about your object and direct your conceptualization. This existential if you like, experience lead me to use the concept of space-ocide to read the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict not as a genocidal one. And the problem is the Palestinians or the Arabs like to show how genocidal the colonial Israeli colonial project. And the Israeli defend themselves in a perfect way, saying, look, we don't produce a lot of casualties. So what I did as a sociologist, when after this existential feeling, if you like, I went and I calculated casualties, and I realized that compared to other conflict is really is not a genocidal one. The Israelis is so smart that they are only interested in more land and less people. Less people, not necessarily by killing them, but by dispossesses them, by expulsion of producing more refugees, by confiscating land, creating bypass route for settlements, and so on and so on. So I think I insist here that often sociologists love to work on in theoretical concept and keep, if you like, keep just developing it through literature review and reading more philosophy, etc. For me, it was when I wanted to refine this concept. Every time I want to refine, I go to the field work and I experience the space, if you like. So this is my first point, how I do my public sociology. My second point is really about public sociology and language. When I was in Ramallah, I did field work in different Palestinian refugee camps as I was interested in the governance issue. And doing this research, I was producing knowledge in English. And really, it was, if you like, a wonderful encounter with my object. They only hear me. They never read me. I write in academic jargons and in English. So until I came to Lebanon and I realized how little I am known in the Arab world because I produce knowledge in French and in English. So I started to translate my work. I had an amazing project with Issam Faris Institute at American University of Beirut here about the governance of refugee camps, looking to the popular committees to see how the relationship between camps and different layer of authority, whether UN agency like UNRWA or Lebanese universities, or Lebanese state or popular committees and so on. And I did the research in a way that there is a many session and in a different moment of the project. And in each step, we translate what so far ideas and to communicate it with the stakeholders.
Hello, I think we may have lost our connection from
the but also the concern of Palestinian I have that I realize how difficult to get the public things in a language we used to it as scholars. Let me give you a simple example. For instance, the audience, my Palestinian refugee audience, was shocked by when they saw the word integration. In migration studies, integration is a very positive concept. Every state try to integrate refugees or migrants. For them, it was like an antipode, the contrary of right of return to Palestinian land. So they tax me as if I will sell the cause, the Palestinian cause, or I am westernized, Americanized, and so on. And others, actually, the Lebanese authority, because the workshop title was the governance in the Palestinian refugee camps, the representative of General Security, who was invited to hear how the Palestinians perceive their camps, etc., he told me, I should arrest you because nobody govern except us. So, and it was a big story about using the word governance. So I end up by changing the whole set of the program and using the word management just so we use the of course this is the equivalent of these in Arabic. So we use the word management, and then really you simplify a lot if you say just the popular committee manage the camps. Actually, much more than manage the camps, because I use, if you like, a framework of Carl Schmitt, Giorgio Agamben, about the power of the sovereign proclaiming the state of exception, and how sovereign scaling down to have a small sovereigns within specific locations. So I found all my theoretical package should be thrown just because I will use a word accessible for my public sociology. So I think my message to say is how difficult to do the public sociology is not something show off, is not something just you become popular known in the place. And recently, because I teach social production of knowledge in my seminar, I use a lot of Bruno Latour writing, and I have a beautiful text about Louis Pasteur, who discovered, of course, the vaccine in France. So in early 1920s, he was the most I mean, he was called the savior of France, loved by everyone. He mobilized a lot of allies for his discovery, the vaccines. He did a lot of lecture with the Union of Peasants. He moved his laboratory from a yuppie Sorbonne location in the Paris 3, the third arrondissement, to a firm in a rural France, just to be close to the community. And when Louis Pasteur saw that, wow, he is the most popular man in France, he ran the election to be a Senate. And he just got something like a few hundred of votes. So this is to tell you that it's very interesting how important the work of public sociology, because sometimes just you are known by a small public and hated by the others, or others are indifferent. So from that I would conclude that we should not use a positivist, if you like, a measurement to test how a scholar, how he or she did a public sociology. It's not how many articles published in a newspaper, how many meetings. It's much more how many TV show attended, participated. It's much more complex than that. Sometimes it's a few encounter with public, but is really extremely important. If I would continue to tell you about my work on refugee camps, it is I have some people hate me because of my writing, because when I translate my work into Arabic, I translate even my criticism to popular committees, and they felt attacked. So I was loved by some and hated by others. And this lead me that the others are pro-Syrian popular committees. So they know that I have a Palestinian Syrian origin, so they put my name in the borders, and I am denied entry to Syria just because my public sociology. And really, I have a friend here from the university told me, Sari, this is your mistake. Why you reveal everything you think to your object? Your object is dummy, stupid. They don't deserve to have all this pain. Of course, I totally disagree with him. But again. Public sociology may lead you to pay a heavy price. Well, finally, I would say that there is I studied, if you like, I was so influenced by the article of Michael Barawi, not because I'm saying that because he is next to me, but if you read my article about publish globally and perish locally versus publish locally and perish globally, you notice how I use his typology and inspire me a lot. And what I notice from the Arab world, that unfortunately, you have a compartmentalization of scholars. It means that either you have scholars do exclusively public sociology, or a snobby, yuppie scholars doing only professional sociology and despise the public. I did an analysis of op-eds in Lebanese newspapers, and this reveals very clearly. We identify names of sociologists or social scientists often write in any topic, and when you look to their CVs, there is no professional research behind these public activities, if you like. So I think I am not at all asking each scholars to do professional critical policy and public sociology, but at least we should acknowledge that for some topic you are more prone to do public sociology, and if you don't do it, you are really guilty of looking for an easy path just to get promoted in your institution. Of course, if you are in American university, like my university, it means publish in English, and then take it easy, and nobody will deny you entry to any place. Okay, so I think here where I notice a crisis in social science in the Arab East, in the region where I am, where really this compartmentalization between sociologists only doing policy, only doing public, or only doing professional / critical sociology. Let me stop here.
Very good. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sari. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hanafi. So our students actually, can you hear us, I hope? You can hear us?
Yes, we hear you.
So, you know, we've had the privilege of reading some of your work, and the students have a whole bunch of questions for you. Some of those questions are more specific to the work that you've done on Palestinian refugee camps, and some of the questions are more general questions about public sociology and some of the issues you've raised for us right now. So who would like to take the first question? Got Andrew over here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
So my question was, who are your publics, and then what does your engagement with your publics look like?
So Dr.
question.
The question was, who are your publics?
Who are your publics?
And what does engagement with your publics look like?
Actually, each research project has its own publics, if you like. For instance, let me make a self-criticism. I was so much into refugee community that my first encounter with the public, where I disseminate my knowledge, is only for the refugee community, if you like. And I realized that, for instance, Lebanese authorities, even army, because you should know that the camps in Lebanon are a sort of a military area, and they have a checkpoint, like in, unfortunately to say, to compare, like in Ramallah, you have an Bantustans. So the camps in Lebanon are Bantustans. So I learned hard that I should be patient and listen to even military people, to disseminate knowledge to them. The more you encounter with them, the more you develop a kind of convivial dialogue, much better than just you hear about your work through their intelligence devices and their informant. So I learned, for instance, that public should be really those who, for whom you do the work, the community, but also those, all the stakeholders dealing with the issue you are studying. And I will tell you, this is extremely time consuming, because usually, for instance, if I talk about this project about the governance of refugee camps in Lebanon and in the region, what we did, to prepare a good encounter between refugees and authorities, I did encounter with popular committees alone, non-governmental organization alone, military authorities, civil authority Lebanese, and then I connect them together. So if you like, again, and you understand now, I mean, some of my public, I engage so much with them, I spend so much time with them, and some of the public is much less.
How do you deal with publics that don't like you?
Well, you should have really the patience to listen to criticism, and sometimes to listen to something for you it's a nonsense. But
Can you give an example of this? Okay, something concrete.
Concrete example, when, for instance, about the governance. When some people tell you that all your project is to dilute the camps into the municipality, and you are working against the camps. So, by doing that, you are against one of the, if you like, symbols of the Palestinian exiles and refugees. So for them, an improvement of a governance system or Palestinian infrastructure paramount to a sort of changing the identity of the camps. So become the camps part of their existential refugee identity. For instance, this is I hear it a lot, and sometimes really a huge attack, but the audience usually defended me. Sometimes you have political commissar from faction, Palestinian political faction. They don't like what you say, and you have the refugees say, "Oh, where do you live? You live outside of the camps. You don't bear to live in the camps. No, we need the camps to be improved. We need to be governed, etc., in a better way." So this is one example.
Good.
So,
You're satisfied, Andrew?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Andrew is saying yes. So, who has our next question?
Fantastic. I mean,
So we've got Dominica.
Hi. Speaking of publics, I was wondering to which extent this model that we read about in your article, the model of participatory governance, is somehow influenced by what you heard from those people. So to which extent the knowledge that you create is based on your engagement with publics. So do the publics also create this knowledge?
Could you hear that, or should we repeat?
The public participate in creating the knowledge. In what? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the question was.
So when you study the refugee
Yeah.
camps, do they refugees in a sense contribute, partake in the production of knowledge?
Absolutely, absolutely, and this is why I like the wording of Michael Burrowy about the public sociology is you enter into conversation. And conversation is always you are a recipient and you give and you take. And really, seriously, I learn a lot from the common sense of people. And I think, let me also do some criticism to my academic field, the French academic field, where I was trained with this distance vis-a-vis the object, and in the name of the objectivity and the common sense is a false sense, like the early work of Pierre Bourdieu, and I would say even Alan Turing. I think how their both sociology developed with the sociological intervention of Alan Turing, with La misère du monde of Pierre Bourdieu, the right of words of the book, the title of the book of Pierre Bourdieu. This is they rehabilitate their object, that they are not just an informant. I can tell you, really, I mean, often the most important knowledge I get from people is not during the formal interview, but is just by spending times and see how they deal with this issue. Just I went to Marilias refugee camps last week to inaugurate websites for the different popular committees in the 12 refugee camps in Lebanon, and then when I wanted to enter to visit the head of the popular committee, it was a heated debate. So they tell me, enter, and it was a question how they will deal with kids watching, if you like, porno movies in cafe, in internet cafe, in camps. How do they control that? So it was an amazing discussion about their power, whether they may control or capable of controlling or not. So if you like 15 minutes of conversation, which for me better sometimes than 1 month of field work. So I think I learn a lot from my objects, yeah, and they produce knowledge.
Dr. Hanafi, actually, could I follow up on this question? Because you talked about public sociology as involving a give and take. And clearly you've just explained the ways in which you take as a sociologist in terms of understandings that are given to you by the public, right? And knowledge and the ways they shape your research. How do you see yourself as giving as a public sociologist? What do you see as your contribution as a sociologist to those publics?
Well, I do pretend, and I highlight the word pretend here. I do pretend that I am sufficiently troublemaker, generating debate in the society about my writing, that just my my last article about, it's called The Moral and the Legal in the Discrimination of Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, that I mentions name of those who are against the right to work for Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, and a name of party. I mentioned two political parties in Lebanon. One of them, they contacted me. They were unhappy. We entered into conversation. We decided to work together until they have better understanding why it is important the right to work for Palestinians. I think simply, if you like, I feel that the fact that I am controversial for some party, this is something good. This may be my contribution. Let me also give you other example. I am doing now an action research. I think my duty is not only to provide criticism of the governance system. So I enter into contact with the donors community. I get funding from Swiss fund. Now we are doing capacity building for popular committees. We construct a medium between refugees and popular committees, a website. And so on. So I think I felt so guilty. I would have felt so guilty if my research haven't been followed by an action research, if you like. And it's very interesting, the action research, because I'm doing it through AUB. And AUB, I have...
That's the university.
The university, American University of Beirut. And they have extremely a hard time to understand. I mean, I have a hard time with the financial administration. They don't understand why everything they need a contract. They don't understand refugees. Sometimes you should give him $1 to come to training session. They said, no, we don't pay $1. How would you? Can they bring a receipt and so on? So it's clear that it's not often researcher end up by an action research after the research.
And I should explain that AUB is a relatively privileged university here in Lebanon, probably the most privileged.
Absolutely.
So the last thing you expect is somebody like Sari Hanafi to be turning up and so working in refugee camps, doing action research.
Let me be fair that recently, I mean, in the last 5 years, the creation of a center like Essam Faris Institute for Public Policy facilitate a lot this encounter between the community and, if you like, and the university. The walls of the university, I think, had been so high, disconnected, isolated, and you have some initiative recently just because the administration acknowledged the problem.
Yeah. I think you should explain what these popular committees are.
Yes.
Briefly.
What is very interesting that the idea because Palestinians feel that they are temporary in a space, and of course, being in a refugee camps for 65 years, 2/3 of a century, in this transient of this liminality situation, convince some of them that we don't need election. We are temporary here. So the Popular Committee members are appointed by the different Palestinian political factions. And this is make them unpopular. So the Popular Committee, the first characteristics of popular committee is to be unpopular, and this is a problem of this, and this is why I developed the concept of Agamben, Giorgio Agamben, of state of exception, the camps as a space of exception, to show that the sovereign is not only the Lebanese authority who puts the camps outside of all the regulation, urban regulation, help, and so on, but also popular committee also creating a state of exception for the camps. So if you like, sometimes victims also do or benefit from the state of exception, or create it even sometimes.
So, okay, then Naomi actually has a question, I think is following up on this.
Yes, one of the solutions for this space of exception that you provided was participatory publics. Do you think this idea is feasible in different camps? And what are the various issues in each of the camps that make it possible or impossible to have this form of governance?
So the question was that one of the kind of solutions you offer is that of participatory publics as an alternative way of governing Palestinian refugee camps. So Naomi is asking, do you think that idea of participatory publics is more or less feasible in different camps? And what are some of the issues in certain camps that may obstruct that possibility and make it more possible in other camps?
Yes. First of all, look, I am unhappy at all how international communities often they use just one second. They use this jargon of community participation. They do it in a way to, if you like, to exempt the authority from doing minimal work of organizing a community. So, if you like, the major conclusion of my studies that we need to legitimize the popular committees. We need a lot of work from the state to acknowledge that these people are like any other people. They are camps like any other municipalities need a governance body. Or if I would give this lecture to University of Damascus, I would say management body, okay? Not to offend them, but now I'm talking in English. So I think I am in the same time would like to have election and more, if you like, what Porto Alegre model of financing municipal work to be applied to the refugee camps, okay? But in the same time, we need legitimacy come from up to bottom.
So what do you think? The different camps are?
Yeah, I think this is applicable to all the camps, not only in Lebanon but elsewhere. In Damascus, in Jordan, the more you combine between bottom up and top down approaches, the best is.
Tell me, what's a 5-star refugee camp? What's the difference between the camp that you know in Syria and Shatila camp that we were in the other night?
The difference is just, the same community kicked out of Palestine in 1948. Some of them, they went to Lebanon. Some of them, they went to Syria. If we look to the trajectory of these two communities, is a huge difference. In Syria, just because they have the right to work and to own a property and to go to the public education system, people were enabled. I mean, I cannot tell you my the difference between my income and the income of my parents. Okay, I was empowered by the education and by the fact that I have access to the labor market
In Syria.
and in Syria. And this is, I don't need a lot of help once I have education. Where here they are struggling with the private universities because they don't have access to public university, they don't have access to the public schools, and then they don't have the right to work after being engineers, medical doctors, nurses, and so on. So this changed completely the trajectory of two communities. Why I talk about the Yarmouk camps, where I grew up as a 5 stars refugee camps compared to Shatila or Rashidiyeh or Ain al-Hilwi.
So actually, Dr. Hanafi, so we've got the 5-star refugee camp, and at the other extreme, we also have what you talk about as those camps that are governed as spaces of exception. So could you also just very, very briefly tell us what that means for you, this sociological concept of space of exception, and how it helps us explain actually what's happening on the ground in these refugee camps?
Yeah, actually, what is going on in Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon is simple. The state wanted not only to design undesirable people and to say, look, we will create a legal system in a way that these undesirable people will not benefit from us. So this is the case of the Palestinian refugees. So no right to work, no right to own property, no right to compose association, and so on. But then they reinforce it by confining them in a spaces where this space will be encircled by sometimes wall, sometimes by checkpoint. So they become, they localize poverty because it's better for Lebanon, a touristic country, that a tourist while walking around don't see refugees or don't see the slum area of refugees. So you confine them in a space where there is no urban regulation. People are poor, so they construct in a way that the alley, the narrow alley, become like something like 75 centimeters. I mean, you cannot even walk properly alone. So, so what I meant by space of exception is really as spaces created in order as enclaves that have as objective to allow so-called civilized islands to communicate with each other. It means that you will have if you like, all the Lebanese territories connected to be sure that it will have a flux of communication. You create enclaves and you put undesirable people there. And then you scream, you say, they become an island of insecurity or enclave of insecurity. Of course, it's by design. So for me, Guantanamo Bay, prisons we find in the Arab world in the time of the dictatorship, which exists until now in different locations, and these refugee camps are really, this is the enclaves which allow the flux of this civilized so-called archipelago.
Who would like to ask our next question? Sunil?
Hello. Do you think certain factions within the camp will be resistant to the concept of participatory republics because it means them giving up power?
Were you all able to hear?
It means
Julian was asking that. Do you think that there will be groups within the camps that would be opposed to your idea of participatory publics, or that in some way kind of obstruct this change for because of their own interests?
Usually, popular committee, they oppose it because they prefer to be appointed. So simply here where, and again, for instance, it takes me time to understand. Sometimes we say camp dwellers, okay? The population of camps, as if they are one public. So it takes me time to understand. I did with Ismail Sheikh Hassan, a colleague of mine, and our group, the first encounter with Nahr al-Barid camp dweller. This camp has been destroyed 3 years ago. What struck me more that the louder voice was that the traders, they want their shops more than the houses. So quickly in the meeting of where you engage with the public, the public become different publics with S. Okay, so and here you should really see how to reconcile between different public. It's okay, yeah. So it's not so yes, some people they don't like the idea of community participation. Some people they want a sort of not minority and majority. Everybody is represented, and something like that.
Are you satisfied with that, Jonah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I think Diana wants to follow up.
Why are some people opposed to the idea of community participation?
So Diana's question is, why would anybody be opposed to community participation?
Simply because community participation means bring voices to large to a larger community, and if you like, that this appointed people of popular committees will not have the monopoly of the decision making. So so they and of course I am doing things on abstract way, but I can give you more examples to show you. For instance, when they felt that the participatory approach is so threatening to them, they hinder us to meet in the camps. So we did it in Tripoli city and not in the camps, because we're supposed to meet. So sometimes it's really often without telling us clearly that they are opposing, but they do everything not to engage with this approach, if you like.
I mean, they didn't let you go into the camps to discuss it with the people.
Yeah. It was one of the camps. The only meeting room, it's popular committees, and there they told us no, we will not give you this room to meet.
So our next question? There was a couple more hands. Yeah, you got it. So I think Andrew actually has another question for you. Yeah.
Hi. So earlier, Professor Borovoy said that you engage in all 4 types of sociology, and so I was wondering how you balance doing all of those at the same time.
So the question was, how do you balance all 4 types of sociology at once?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So let me say, I need from time to time to do a policy sociology just to gain a little bit of money. You know, I spend so much in my ethnographies, okay, nobody will pay me travel. Nobody will pay me for the time. Sometimes you engage in voluntary work, a lot of voluntary work. All this is you accept to do work for almost nothing if you don't pay from your pocket, and to compensate that from time to time. When UNDP call you or UN
World
Commission or World Bank, okay, you will not say no. And now the problem, if I let myself to go to any project, I will be traitor to my professional sociology. So often what I do, I accept only command or order which is close to my research interest, and that which not derive me so much from my research interest. But also, I learned that really it's extremely important to take time when you do professional work to disseminate it to the decision maker, and to make recommendation, and not to be just satisfied by a complex conclusions which raise more questions than answer. Okay, I do remember the shocking experience I have when I wrote the first report to UNICEF about the Palestinian refugee children in a different location in the region. And when it come to recommendations, they wanted to make it in a way not to offend anybody. Okay, so here, for instance, you enter into a negotiation with the person who should pay you the check once you deliver the work. So we will not take it if the wording is not framed in a way acceptable to UN language and so on. So it's a painful process again. But to tell the truth, that from time to time is very important to do it, even sometimes for money. Now, also, I would say it's very important, the critical sociology. And really, this is extremely sometimes time-consuming to reflect upon your discipline, your sub-disciplines, to do a pieces which is not related to a policy or to something you do it directly. So it's so challenging, and sometimes you do it and knowing that you will not able to publish it because it's not achieved. But this will become like a therapy for you to think how you develop your reflection about what you are doing. If you don't do that, you will be stuck into a sociology of indicators. Look always to indicators and be absorbed by indicators without questioning whether really these indicators are fitting to your work or not.
So can you give us an example of what you would call critical sociology that you do?
Well, I did a work on writing oral histories for the Palestinian refugees. So, for instance, the problem of the Palestinian that, including myself, including my family, that they didn't transmit the painful experience of 1948 by writing or orally to the new generations. So we end up a lot of elderly people now dying without leaving any traces. And the way when you have a traces, you 1 minute, sorry. Can you connect this here? Yeah. And when when you connect, when you do oral history, there is a lot of unspoken issue. You have what I call the repressed. So I did a piece called Haifa and its refugees, the remembered, the forgotten, and the repressed, arguing all the problem of the oral history enterprise in Palestinian in the case of the Palestinians, and some people are unhappy, and I am critical to my own family. So I have a reaction of someone who asked me whether my parents have read my piece. I said I would not dare to write it if my dad is still alive or something like that. So I think it was extremely important for me, somebody who teach transitional justice, who try to memorize, to think, to theorize memory in relation to history, to do my own trajectory and those who are surrounding me, and to look to literature produced in oral history Palestinian and to make a critical assessment of them.
So basically, this is sort of a self-criticism of the community in which you are studying and which you are a part.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
It's not necessarily a criticism of some traditional, conventional sociology.
No, well, no, yeah, yes, you are right. You are right. In this case, yeah, I have a paper about, if you like, 15 years being a sociologist of migration. I wrote a piece where I reflect on all my work and connected between racism in Europe and migration. For instance, this is, for me, it's a very important paper about Danish cartoon and migration studies, if you like, where, and what is very interesting that referee, I published it in a referee journal, and the referees keeping saying, where is your fieldwork? I said, look, it's 15 years of experience. And one of the referees, say, no, we need this fieldwork. Why? So something like that. So
You can't win, huh?
yeah.
Yes.
So, Dr. Hanafi, unfortunately, we are short on time and we've run out of time over here. But before we thank you for being with us, I will let Michael just let us know that he will be coming back to us next time and he will be joining us next week once he returns. Michael, you are coming back to us.
That's right. I'll be back.
You promise?
I'll be back. Back from Lebanon, and then from Hungary, and then from Ukraine.
And when
That's
you are
right.
back, it will
Yes.
be, Michelle,
So I should-
joining us. So when you return, we will be joined by Michelle Viviorca, correct? Yes. Okay.
Correct. Actually, Michelle Viviorca was Sari Hanafi's supervisor in France.
Absolutely, and I think let me, if I have one word to say, I learned a lot from Michel Viviorca to be a public sociologist. He has an excellent capacity of transmit his ideas. He often write to newspaper Libération and generate debate. Some of his idea is liked by people, by some public, hated by others. I think he is one of a leading figure of public sociology in France. So I congratulate you, Lale, and Michael to choose Michel Viviorca. Yeah, for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. I should say that Sari is very tired. He's just run a most fantastic seminar, workshop, colloquium on the Arab uprisings, and it's been it's brought people from all over the world, Latin America, all over the Middle East, and so it's been a fantastic doing. And so this is just at the end of it. So he's a very tired man, so we're very lucky to have him with us tonight.
Yeah.
And he actually cancelled all the dinner of everybody just to be here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you.
It's been really wonderful.
Okay.